Hey guys, I know it's been a while. You're probably wondering why Three Kingdoms is starting over. It's because somebody commented on one of the last chapters that I did that the Moss Roberts translation is copyrighted. Um, I started on uh, a non-copyrighted version. Like I read the first chapter of that. Uh, Hated it. And then I just swapped to one that I thought was that same translation but formatted differently, just because it was hard to look at. But that was an updated translation, which is under copyright, whereas the original one that I was reading from 1929 was not copyrighted. It's public domain in the United States. I kind of entered a rabbit hole on what copyright looks like for translations and edits. That's why Journey to the West is free from copyright, not an issue. Don't have to worry about it. Is because I edited that text as I was going along. So, like technically, I should have my own copyright on that question mark. Um, but yeah, that's that's where we're at. I want to give a quick thank you to Truth on the Three Kingdoms Reddit. Um, Kind of got me on this rabbit hole to, you know, make sure the one that I was using was correct, and to the scholars of Shinzhou uh, on thescholars.com. They specifically guided me with a previous conversation to where I needed to be reading, which I think it was this comment right here. The 1925 and 29 Brewitt Taylor translations are public domain. Um, and I am reading the 29 translation on Hathi Trust. So, that's where we're at. That's what we got going on. I appreciate your patience. And for today, I'm just going to read the preface so that I can get the format down for the chapters moving forward. So, thanks everyone for your patience, and I suppose let's get into it. Sun Quo, or Romance of the Three Kingdoms, by C.H. Brewitt Taylor. Publisher's Note. The standard edition of this translation of China's most famous historical novel was published in 1925 and is fast becoming out of print. The price of this standard edition, it was realized, was above the purchasing capacity of the average Chinese reader, and therefore, in the view of the ever-increasing desire on the part of the latter to embrace Western learning, it was thought that a cheaper edition might meet with the support of Chinese friends who would be interested in reading in English what most of them have already read in their mother tongue. In the hope that this may be realized, the publishers have the pleasure now in placing this popular edition on the market, and they trust that it will meet with cordial approval. Kelly and Walsh Limited, November 1929. Preface. A. Wiley, in his invaluable notes on Chinese literature, says, "Works of fiction, par excellence, are not admitted by the Chinese to form a part of their national literature. Those who have imbibed European ideas on the subject, however, will feel that the novels and romances are too important as a class to be overlooked. The insight they give in the national manners and customs of various ages, the specimens which they furnish of an ever-changing language, The fact of this being the only channel through which a large portion of the people gain their knowledge of history, and the influence which they must consequently exercise in the formation of character, are reasons too weighty to be left out of account, notwithstanding the prejudices of scholars on the subject. Foremost among these in popular estimation is the San Kuo Chi Yin. This is a historical novel in 120 chapters, written by Lo Kuangcheng of the Yuan dynasty. The plot, which is founded on the historical events immediately succeeding the decadence of the House of Han, is wrought out with a most elaborate complication of details, embracing the period from 168 to 265. Following the course of events from the imbecile reign of Ling Ti of the Han, the tale opens with an account of the insurrection of the Yellow Caps, during which Liu Bei, a descendant of the imperial family, enters into a solemn compact with Guan Yu, now the deified Quan Ti, god of war, and Zhang Fei, to aid each other till death in their efforts to uphold the falling house. The fortunes of Liu Bei are traced through a series of reverses till he assumes the royal power, known afterwards as Chao Lie Ti, and the empire became divided into 3 states, Wei, Shu, and Wu. Tyranny and bloodshed mark the narrative for nearly a century, till the usurper Cao Mao of the Wei is deposed by his minister, Sima Chao, whose son became the consolidator of the empire and founder of the Qin dynasty, being the Wu Ti of history. As a general description of the book, Wiley's brief note leaves little to be desired. To amplify it would mean an analysis with which I would not weary the reader. I will add, however, that the Sun Kuo is widely read and very generally known, perhaps, however, better through stage performances than by actual reading. The Sun Kuo is distinctly Eastern, a book adapted for the storyteller. One can almost hear him. It abounds in names and genealogies, which seem never to tire the Eastern reader or listener. Happily, English admits pronouns in place of so many strangely spelt names which ought to appear, and they have been used, and as most persons have at least a zu in addition to the sing and ming, I have tried to lighten the burden on the foreign reader's memory by using only the sing or sing and ming of a man, suppressing his zu, except in the case of very well-known characters. Manchu, Japanese, Siamese, and possibly other versions of the Sun Kuo have been made, and now to these I have attempted to add one in English, with what measure of success I leave to curious readers qualified to compare my rendering with the original. The Wade system of romanization, in which the vowels are Italian, has been used. In conclusion, I wish to put on record my gratitude to Mr. Chin Ti-tsin, who typed the text, and Mr. E. Manako Gul, who has read the proofs. San Kuo, or Romance of the Three Kingdoms.